McDavid got cheated out of 2 Stanley Cups. The NHL has finally caught the dirty, rotten cheaters, and a lot of fans are cheering like justice was served. Starting right now in the 2026 playoffs, the NHL finally killed the biggest cheating loophole in hockey. For years, there was no salary cap in the playoffs. And so teams exploited this massive loophole called LTIR, long-term injured reserve. Put your star on LTIR, free up millions in salary because player salary doesn't count towards the salary cap if they're on long-term injury, and then load up your team with some new players at the trade deadline because you have cap space now. And then magically get your stars back healthy for game 1 of the playoffs when the salary cap, poof, doesn't matter anymore. The last 4 of 5 Stanley Cup champions bought their Stanley Cup. They bought it by being 5, 14, and $18 million over the salary cap when they hoisted the cup. Oh, and I've got more to say on this. I'm Kate, and this is Fansplain Me. I break down the most unbelievable stories in sports, so tell me what I got right, or get in there and fansplain me in the comments, which I know you are going to do on this one. Florida was over $5 million each year. They used this to win the cup in 2024 and 2025. Tampa was $18 million over the cap when they won. Vegas, notorious for cheating like this, they were $14 million over the cap when they won. The teams that cheated the system kept winning. What do you know? During the regular season, teams are not allowed to spend over the league-agreed salary cap for players, right? In 2025, your total salaries of all players could not exceed $88 million. Your team had to spend under that to be compliant. This keeps it fair among the league, or else rich franchises would just buy their way to championships. But did they find a way to do it regardless? Yes, they did. This was most noticeable, I think, when Mark Stone and the Vegas Golden Knights would repeatedly use long-term injured reserve to navigate the NHL salary cap, specifically by placing Stone on LTIR before the trade deadline and activating him for the playoffs. This allowed Vegas to acquire high-priced players, while Stone's $9.5 million cap hit was exempt to the team. They did it for multiple seasons. Mark Stone got a reputation. He became known as Mr. Game 1 in Vegas for doing exactly that. He could barely walk in March and most of April, and then 8 days before the playoffs, he'd be spotted skating and getting back into shape. And lo and behold, he would rise from the dead and be in the opening lineup of the first game of the playoffs. And all those players picked up at the deadline by savings of this salary, oh, they were still there come playoff time because the salary cap no longer mattered. So for example, in 2024, by placing injured Stone on LTIR, Vegas created space to acquire a Noah Hanifin, Anthony Mantha, Tomas Hertl, all at the trade deadline. They get Mark Stone back for the playoffs, and now they have tens of millions over the allowed salary cap. It's crazy. Florida's Aaron Ekblad's convenient long suspension that saved them the salary helped Florida bring in Brad Marchand and Seth Jones. Ekblad back for game 3 of the first round, and now they are well over the cap. It is like having 2 to 3 extra star players for your cup run. The numbers were insane. Florida Panthers 2024 and 2025, $93 million cap hit. That's $5 million over the cap both years that they beat the Oilers in the finals. Tampa Bay Lightning in 2021, this one kills me, $18 million over when they won the cup. $18 million. I'm going to keep saying it. Vegas Golden Knights in 2023, $14 million. 14. I live in Vegas, so I'm going to get some heat for this, but I mean, come on. They all won the cup, all while their opponents were cap compliant. As an Oilers fan who watched Florida win the last 2 cups using every loophole possible, I am here to say good riddance to that cheating rule. McDavid didn't lose the cup fair and square. He didn't. He got cheated out of it. Yeah, you can come at me. I can take it because it's true. In 2026, the Oilers got bounced by the Ducks. They were not good enough. I will admit that. Absolutely. That is fair. But in 2024, that Oilers team was very good. They came back from 3-0 only to lose in Game 7 to a team that was well over the cap. Let me explain how this new rule affects these playoffs. Okay, starting this playoff season in 2026, playoff rosters have to be cap compliant. So no more building super teams for the most important time of the year. Cheaters can no longer win the cup that way. So how it works is like this. For every playoff game, the total cap hit of the players actually dressed for that game has to fit under that season's salary cap. But the playoff cap math is a little different than regular season cap math. So performance bonuses and games played bonuses do not count. A player's cap hit also does not get prorated. So if you trade for a player halfway through the season, you don't just count the portion of the year he played for you, as in the last 6 weeks. In the playoffs, you count his full cap hit. If another team retained salary in that trade, then you count the part you are responsible for. So if the other team kept 25% of the cap hit, your team counts the remaining 75%. And again, that number is not prorated. Dead cap also still matters. Buyouts, buried contracts, retained salary, cap recapture penalties, all of that can still count toward your playoff cap if it counted against you during the regular season. So even if a player is no longer on the team, some of his cap hit can still follow you into the playoffs the same way that it does in the season. The one exception is for the team retaining salary. Their retained portion is prorated based on when the trade happened, okay? So if they retained 25% halfway through the season, their playoff charge would only be half of that 25%. But the team that acquired the player does not get that same prorated benefit. And here is why this really matters. If these rules had been in place for Game 6 of the 2025 Stanley Cup Final, Edmonton would have been safely under the playoff cap by about $7.35 million. Florida would have been over by $5.04 million. That is an almost $13 million swing. That's huge. And that is cheating McDavid and the Oilers out of a fair chance at the cup. That is Vegas cheating the Panthers out of a cup in 2023 by being over by $14 million. That is Tampa Bay cheating Montreal out of a real honest cup run in 2021 by being over by $18 million. The next year, in 2022, Tampa were only $2 million over, much closer. And you know what? They got beat by the cap-compliant Colorado Avalanche because it matters. These big swings, they matter. So yes, this kind of rule would have changed the conversation in a very real way. Florida's 2025 Stanley Cup team, they couldn't re-sign all the players for the season as they would be way over cap for the 2026 season. What kind of impact does that have on a team that cheated their way to the cup? Well, when it came time to ice a cap-compliant team the following season in 2026, the Stanley Cup champs didn't even make the playoffs. That's real impact, I think. What do you think? Was this loophole? Was this just smart management, pushing your boundaries, or is this straight up cheating? And does the new playoff cap, do you think it finally makes things fair? Would you make any changes to those rules? And, do you think that the best teams were winning or were the best cheaters winning? You tell me. Fansplain me in the comments.